And welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We're about to venture off now into our second segment for the morning. World Water Day Committee and World Water Day activities. And this year they're celebrating under the theme Water and Climate Change. Actually, that's the theme, right? Yes. On the 22nd of March. In to tell us more about it, Dr. Lennox Gladden, Chief Climate Change Officer at the National Climate Change Office. We also have Rudolph Williams all the way to my right. Rudolph Williams, who's the Director of Water and Wastewater at PUC, and Ginee Neal, Public Relations for Rural Development. I think I got your name, I get it wrong? Oh my goodness. But guys, welcome and good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, the most essential element of life,
Yes.
water.
Water.
And you know, a lot of people, we take it for granted because to us here at home in Belize, we've got it in abundance. We see a lot of rainfall, especially down the PG.
Right.
But it's very important for us to know how to use our water. So let's jump on into it and the importance of water, guys, please.
Well, to begin with, the International World Water Day was adopted 27 years ago, and it was through the United Nations General Assembly, and it was declared on March 22nd.
Yeah.
So that's the day that we celebrate World Water Day.
Okay.
This year we'll be celebrating with the fair on March 20th because March 22nd is a Sunday.
Okay.
Yes. So that's
So that's next
the-
Friday.
That's next week, Friday.
Yeah.
So that's the overall of World Water Day and how it was declared, some history back in 1992.
Oh, wow.
We started to celebrate World Water Day in the late 1990s through the National Hydrology Services.
Okay.
And we've been collaborating with different organizations such as Ministry of Health, Ministry of Rural Development, Department of the Environment, Public Utilities Commission, National Climate Change. We have Belize Electric Company Limited, a University of Belize, and Crystal.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what's interesting? I think that a lot of times we don't realize the amount of waterworks that takes place in the country. And I don't mean crying, I mean just the amount of people who are working on testing water, checking water. There's a water quality unit at the Ministry of Health. I know there's research done in our rivers, definitely BCO when you're looking at the dams. Talk to us, and maybe Rudy, you can share some information there of the amount of monitoring that's taking place on our water systems throughout the country.
Well, the monitoring in Belize is very extensive. We have a lot of rivers that are partially monitored. The Belize River is the most monitored one.
Okay.
We have the Hydrology Service that leads the monitoring, and Ministry of Health does some environmental monitoring, along with the Department of Environment.
Yeah.
We have been doing monitoring for water quantity, and that started way back in 1969.
Quantity?
Yeah, the amount
Okay.
of water that is in the rivers in
Okay.
Belize, right? And we have it in as far south as Blue Creek in Toledo, and as far north as the Rio Hondo, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, most of the monitoring is in the Belize River.
In the rivers, yeah.
Water quality is monitored by, like I said, Ministry of Health and Environment. Water quality has very reduced compared to water quantity monitoring.
Yeah.
And we also have a lot of groundwater and water that we have not been monitoring properly, but we have been using it extensively. And so that's a threat that we have where water quality and water quantity is concerned.
And when you say, are you talking wells?
Yes, well water, right?
Okay.
Well, groundwater and aquifer water, but basically we know it in Belize as well water.
Okay, So if I have a well, you know, is there someone who comes and checks it, or?
That's a tricky subject.
Yes, indeed.
There is a law that says that you should not have a well without a permit.
Okay.
You should not be taking out water from the river or the groundwater without a permit.
Okay.
But that law is in kind of a little abeyance right now.
Okay.
We have always been practicing just drilling well when we want to drill it, where we want to drill it, without the understanding the threats that we provide to the groundwater resources. Right. And one of the threats we have is that whenever a well goes dry or become unusable, you know how we close it up? Garbage.
Put garbage.
Yeah. And then that garbage eventually seeps into the groundwater and it spreads throughout the network, right?
Yeah.
So there is a real need for us to deal with our groundwater seriously.
So what would be the proper way for those who have got, what would be the proper way to close well?
A well that runs
Well,
dry.
there are several ways to do it. One of the most effective and expensive ways is just throw some bentonite into it and seal it off, right? Normally,
Which
you
is
would
clay,
probably,
right?
That's
clay.
Yeah. And we could put ordinary basic clay, cover it up, right, and seal it off, and do not throw garbage in the well.
Do not throw garbage in that well.
Because the same way the water came in, the garbage can go out.
Yeah.
So you said that we monitor water quantity for so many years?
Yes. We monitor the rivers. We have the hydrology service has a set of gauges on most of the rivers in Belize. I think only the Sarstoon is not monitored. Right.
And how are we doing? Are we at the same rate? Are there any major fluctuations that have taken place over the years?
Well, the level of reporting is like twice a day, and that focuses into climatic quantification of the water in the rivers. If you want to go to flooding, then you need to have more real-time information so you could respond accurately and timely, right?
Okay.
But the water levels have been put into reports by the hydrology service. We have a lot of reports on that. We have been putting out advice for engineering projects. Many of the road projects, the bridges, and that type of stuff. They use that information, right?
Yeah.
Well, you know, and I wanted to venture off right in that corner and come to Dr. Gladden. You know, municipalities are striking up in all corners of our country. We're building a lot of roads. We're doing a lot of things. So we know that the country is developing, and a developed country, of course, is one of the main factors of climate change.
Right.
So I wanted to know, in terms of climate change on our waterways, are we losing it? What does this say about our waterways?
Well, when you look at like you spoke to development, and we try our best to promote as an office, as a ministry, sustainable development. Right? When it comes to what you mentioned before, the loss of waterways, and it goes right back to what Mr. Williams mentioned, that we try our best to look at monitoring, because there's a challenge, and I always say this thing: it's difficult to manage what you've never measured. Right. There always this claim that there's an abundance of water within the country. Yeah. We've captured it surface, but we know that underground water, sometimes, in most cases, is of higher quality. Yeah. Right.
Wow.
So it might not. It's less expensive when you do purification, filtration, because, again, the quality. But when you look at some of these infrastructure projects, and now it's not only in Belize, it's regionally as well, they are held to a higher standard because they're looking at the impact as a result of the changing climate. And so far, some of the projects that you've seen, a lot of the road projects, they aspire to be as resilient as possible. Resilience looking at, of course, trying as best as possible not to cause some sort of disruption to the natural waterway. If you cause a disruption to the natural waterway, then of course you can build the most, what you consider resilient road. However, it will still suffer from flooding because you're disrupting the natural waterway. Right? So,
you know, your theme this year is looking at climate change, and I think that it's very fresh on our memory. Last year's issues with the New River, which many say has been a long time coming, but we really had a battle last year. We know that we talk of climate change as something futuristic, something we'll see in the future, but we're seeing effects today. The warming of the globe. We're talking about changing in weather patterns. I mean, we're in March, where's the wind? Or when cold front season comes, it's hot. So we anecdotally have these little experiences of what we're used to, and they're changing. How does this impact our water supply in the country? What are we seeing now, and what are the predictions for the future that we must start to mitigate? Anybody?
Well, where climate change is concerned, we have, as you mentioned, we have seen the effects of climate change. We have seen lakes and ponds have gone dry.
Yeah.
We have seen that the Mackel River has taken a leak for water quality. We see the New River taking a leak for water quality. And these are the consequences of low water availability and high demand, right? And it's not only climate change, and we like to blame everything on climate change, but it's not only climate change. A lot of anthropogenic activities have caused problems, especially manifested in the New River.
What do you mean by anthropogenic?
People.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Right? Things that we have done, the farmers have done, the people who...
Our behavior, human
Right,
behavior. Yeah.
Right? And so it's more than one thing that is happening, and climate change is causing a crisis for water. It's actually causing a crisis for water. We don't see it because, well, we see it when it manifests in certain areas. But climate change has been causing increase in temperature, reduction in water supply, right? And more frequent occurrence of extreme events.
True.
Right?
True.
The drought has been seriously affected agriculture, water quality. And we need to look at this thing as our listeners. It's not only climate change. All of us have something to contribute to making our water resources better managed.
Would you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, we've always had these bad habits, but kind of Mother Nature did her part in kind of remedying our problems, whether it's in supplying sufficient water each year. Now that we're seeing the effects of climate change or bad behaviors, we're facing the consequences. Is that a fair enough assessment?
It is a fair enough assessment, but what you mentioned earlier, a lot of communities, they're feeling the impacts of climate change. So sometimes there's a misconception that when you're looking at climate change, it's something for the future, right? That at this point has been thrown out the door because communities are suffering. The most vulnerable communities, you see them, they're crying out for assistance because they're feeling the impacts, but they might not necessarily attribute it to climate change, right? But as Mr. Williams mentioned, that there are many factors, right? And climate change just exacerbates these factors, right? Mother Nature has its checks and balances in place, but due to, in most cases, some of our actions, right? Let's put that
but you know, you're right when it comes to that, because especially in the vulnerable communities, they would tell you, we not see it like this long time, whether it's a flood or whether it's a drought. So, you know, and we need to get us to the do's and don'ts, especially living in those areas, because we have to understand how important our watershed is. The do's and don'ts of living in an area whereby you know, you're vulnerable, or vulnerability is high when it comes to either flooding or drought. What should people do or not do? Like planting next to the river or spraying chemicals next to the river. What are the do's and don'ts in this case?
Okay, I'll weigh in quickly as it relates to the planting aspect of it. When it comes to, like, for example, looking at the agriculture sector, and like you say, some of these communities, there's a wealth of information out there, especially when it comes to when you should actually start planting. Right? So for the most part, and this is something that they've already put out an advisory that, listen, this year again, it might be another long dry season. So these are certain precautions you can take as an individual within these communities, especially as it relates to when you want to sow your seeds.
Wow.
And in addition, if you're living in an area that has been prone to flooding, or in the north where the rainfall is lower, be aware of the climatic conditions that exist in the area. Prepare for it. I mean, do not sit back and say, oh, I don't have to worry about anything, especially in the warning that was given out that they were likely to have another drought. Farmers in the north should be thinking about how should I adjust my planting season for that? What should I do to get a better crop, right? In the south, we always have excessive rainfall. If you live next to the river, man, it's likely you'll have a flood. No, wait, and then I'll have a Nemo, please go help me. And you understand? Right? So this, like I said, all of us have a role to play. And if we start to think and be proactive in protecting ourselves against the vagrancies of climate change, then we'll be in a better position.
What is our biggest threat? Is it water quantity or water quality?
both of them.
There.
Can I rank them right now? Because we really take for, I mean, let's use a closer example that people know. We watch the California droughts, and we see how at some times there's a cutoff for how much water you can get, when you could use the water, what you can use it for. We had our first, I wouldn't say it's the first, but last year we really had everybody paying attention to the extended dry season or drought that took place. Are we headed in that direction where we'll have to control water supply?
Let me say a thing that I always say when I come on these, because we are only here once in 365 days, right? I keep saying we have a lot of water generally in Belize.
Yeah.
And so that answers the quantity question.
Okay.
But if we do not manage our water resources properly, we'll have a lot of dirty water. And that is what is happening to us right now.
Wow.
Right? You could see it in the New River, you could see it in the Macau River.
Yeah.
You have seen it in the water supply in Belize City where we had some problems with iron, right? And so we are not paying attention to our source water, right? The water quantity is a little bit out of our control because the climatic conditions that dictates that, right? But the quality is well within our control.
Okay.
Let me tell you who's telling on you though, not you, us, sorry. who's telling on us? The coral reef. And I've always mused at the fact that we take so lightly that we are seeing the agricultural runoff effects on the reef and even our waste, our sewer waste, the effects on our reef. So we know that basically we're flushing our toilets on our reef.
Right.
And we are planting and using chemicals, and all that stuff is still going out to our reef. So we know, I mean, like I'm saying, if there's anybody who's telling on us in terms of our bad water practices, it's that beautiful system out there that we're proud of. What can, I mean, is it's two levels. It's individually, like the farmer himself, but it's also looking at structurally what's in place. What are we doing in terms of putting in mechanisms to help us be more serious about protecting our waterways and our water quality especially?
I think one such activity, you'd say, is one of the reasons why we're here today.
Yeah.
The whole sensitization, the whole awareness. Because when we were out there waiting to come on, I was looking at the segment. And I said, as a nation, as a country, naturally Belizeans were quite resilient. Right? That's a given. But it's important in order to enact change. It's not necessarily about the infrastructure, it's more something personal, right? To come up with some of these best management practices. And we try our best, once within the whole 365 days of the year. But it's important when we take part in these sessions, when we go on these road shows for World Water Day, to build that awareness. And we're targeting schools. It will be culminated with the session down south. So awareness is important because without building that knowledge, building that capacity, and it's at all tiers of society. It's not only one segment of society that's responsible to maintain and look at water quality and quantity, especially in this changing climate. We all have a responsibility to, of course, build on this natural resource and protect this natural resource.
I agree, Dr. Gladden. And,
well said.
Going back to the mechanisms, there's the Department of Environment that is working. There's the Ministry of Health. We have the 5 Cs also participate, but we have also the National Integrated Water Resources Authority, which the law has been enacted, but since 2015, but they have not put in the authority in place. And this authority has all the legal teeth to manage our water resources, quantity and quality. But that's a different discussion.
You can come back for that one. More.
Then you're here 2 times.
But even day-to-day practices, right? So we turn on, that's what we were saying, we didn't have a sink to use on set, but one of the key parts in your prevention for COVID-19 is having clean water to wash your hands. We really take it for granted when we open up that pipe that water's always going to be there and it's going to be safe.
Well, just to chip in on that, Belize Water Services has been doing a pretty good job of providing water and potable water to most of the municipalities in this country. And going back to climate change and the water, Belize Water Services gets its water from the rivers and from the underground. And if we do not monitor those properly, and if we do not manage our obstruction from it, then we put those water sources at risk. And that is compounded with the changes that are possible from climate change. Right? So we really need to start to pay attention to our water.
Or even the affordability of potable water that we get to enjoy.
The more dirty the water, the poorer quality water that the beetle takes in, it costs more to convert to potable water, which you do not like to hear. We will not have to raise the price of water. You see, there's a connection with everything.
It is. But it all boils down to how we take care of our waterways. Because if we're getting water from underground and we're not taking care of business, then we tend to throw the blame that clean water not to come out. But there's so many things that we can do as human beings to try and make things better for our communities. Now it leads me to World Water Day. Now let's talk about the activities that will be coming up there. And so let's hear about World Water Day and what we should expect.
Like we have mentioned, World Water Day, we don't only celebrate just the actual day. We have a host of activities that leads up to the day, and in that host of activities we have different poster competitions. We used to do the poetry competition, but we do it year in and out. So those don't go unrecognized also. We also recognize those. We have a poetry competition book where we compile all our poems from previous years from participants who have participated in our poetry competition. This year we are focusing on the poetry competition. It's It's available to our secondary schools. Students or children who want to participate in a level from standard 4 to 6. The guideline is for them to come with their creative and an educational poster, something that will depict water and climate change. And it has to be an original piece. However, the deadline was March 4th, so we'll be judging the posters tomorrow actually. Yes, and we will select our winner. The winner will be announced, and they will be awarded at the World Water Day event. We've also had the radio trivia, which is broadcasting on Love FM. So there's a factual question that airs twice daily on water and climate change, and it airs from Monday to Friday. And on Saturday, the public has the opportunity to call in. Whosoever calls in first and they answer the questions correctly, they are awarded $100. So there's 2 more Saturdays for them to win for anybody to win $100. It's this Saturday and next week Saturday. So you can listen to the questions that airs through Monday to Friday.
And on the day itself, the 20th, when you'll be commemorating it.
Well, before that, we are doing a host of roaming presentations. And like Dr. Gladden had mentioned, we want to inform everyone. So it's not just for the general public and for adults, but also we want to inform students. We want to inform the children because everyone has a role to play. So we are visiting the schools. This year we are visiting Cayo District and Orange Walk. So our roaming presentations, we have our organizations. They prepare presentations of 15 to 20 minutes that we compile together and we present at the schools. This year we'll be focusing at Cayo Christian Academy, Baptist High School, and Our Lady of Fatima RC in Belmopan and Cayo District. On Friday the 13th, we'll be in Orange Walk District, and we'll be visiting Yo Creek, Muffles High School, and Belize High School of Agriculture. So, and this week, of course, we're also doing our media appearances. So it's kind of like a media blitz. So we are trying to flood all the stations so that everyone can hear what the importance of water is. Next week, which is the 18th, we will have our water forum. And it's a panel discussion after the presentations from our organization, and it's open for a panel discussion for the students and the public who will be there. It will be at the Bliss Institute, and the panel in the panel discussion, you can it's available for questions to be asked on water and climate change. Our presenters are the organizations members who are Belize Water Services, Ministry of Rural Development, Hydrology Unit, Climate Change, and the others.
Yes,
Okay.
So there's a presentation from everyone, and based on the presentation, it's open for
When
questions.
is that going to be?
It's going to be on March 18th, next week, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay.
in the morning.
In the morning from 9 to 1.
Okay.
Yes. And on Friday of March the 20th, that's our World Water Day event. It will be hosted this year at the...
It's a pool party, right?
Yes.
Everybody can go.
Everybody's invited.
Let's enjoy the water while we have
Yes.
it.
It will be at Punta Gorda Sporting Complex.
Okay.
And it's open for the public. It's open for schools. It's open for everyone to come by. We will have booth displays by all our organizations, different organizations that deal with water resource management.
Okay.
We've also extended our invitation to, I think it's about 3 of our other partners that aren't in government, but non-organizations, which are Plenty Belize and Tide and Hope Springs. So the public can come out, schools can come out, everybody's invited to come out and see our displays and what we have to say about water and the importance.
Nice.
I just want to highlight one more activity.
Tell us.
We, for the last, 4 years, we have been having a World Water Day award that has been given to a special person, an organization, business for participation in water resources. And this year, again, we are going to have the 4th one this year, right? The 4th award this year.
Okay.
Right? And that will be chosen this week also.
So other than just walking away from this conversation, understanding that our water is important, we need to protect it, what can everybody who's watching at home do differently today to help to ensure that we have safe water for the future?
At home, I would say conserve water.
Yeah.
Don't listen to the noise that we have a lot of water. Conserve water. And because conserving water have implications for cost of water.
Of course.
Right? So conserve water and be mindful of how you dispose of your waste.
Yeah.
Right?
That's it.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in.
Gracias.
And there's quite a bit that people can participate in. And do you have this stuff online that people can access it?
Well, they can visit our Facebook page.
Okay.
We have a World Water Day page.
Okay.
And so it's available, World Water Day Belize.
Okay.
And also our organization pages through the different
the
ministries and so far we have the information on our Facebook page, and we have been putting them on our websites as well.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead now and take our break. And when we come back, we're going to be getting the details of LeaderCast 2020. So please stay tuned.